Introduction. Success is built, not given. We live in a world obsessed with big wins, overnight success stories, dramatic transformations, and quantum leaps. Social media flashes million-dollar businesses built in months, weight loss journeys that seem magical, and lifestyles that look like they were earned with a single stroke of genius or luck. But here's the truth most people miss. Real, lasting success isn't a moment, it's a process. And that's exactly what The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is about. It's not a flashy philosophy, it's not a secret, it's not about working 100-hour weeks or getting lucky once. It's about mastering the boring, doing the simple things that seem insignificant in the moment but, repeated over time, create unstoppable momentum. The core idea is simple: tiny choices made consistently create radical differences over time, for better or worse. Whether it's your health, finances, relationships, mindset, or business, you are where you are because of the accumulation of small decisions. Not the one big break, not the sudden windfall, but the quiet moments when you chose to work out or skip it, when you saved a little or spent a little more, when you spoke kindly or let your frustration take over. Over time, these micro-decisions compound, just like money in a bank. And before you know it, you've either created a powerful upward spiral or buried yourself in invisible self-sabotage. This book isn't about hype, it's about habits, it's about systems, it's about taking back control of your life, not through motivation, but through mastery. Darren Hardy doesn't ask you to change everything. He asks you to change one thing and keep doing it until it becomes second nature, then another, then another. This process is slow, but it's permanent, and that's what makes it so rare. While most people chase the next shortcut, the compound-minded person builds something no one can take away: identity, discipline, and momentum. This audiobook is a breakdown of the essential lessons from the compound effect, structured for reflection, clarity, and implementation. Each lesson will challenge your thinking, call out your excuses, and give you the frameworks to apply immediately. But only you can do the work. You can't delegate your progress. You can't outsource your habits. You can't fake consistency. So if you're ready to ditch the all-or-nothing approach, if you're done with relying on motivation, and if you want to quietly outpace everyone by mastering the things that matter, this journey is for you. Let's begin with the first foundational idea: the principle of the compound effect. The compound effect is deceptively simple. Small, smart choices, repeated consistently over time, produce massive results. It's not flashy, it's not instant, but it's unstoppable. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at your daily habits the same way again. Imagine two friends. One makes a few small changes. He cuts just 125 calories a day, walks for 15 minutes, and reads 10 pages of a good book each night. Nothing dramatic, barely noticeable in fact. The other makes slightly poorer choices, adds a daily soft drink, skips the evening walk, and watches an extra hour of TV instead of reading. After 1 month, nothing looks different. After 6 months, still not much. But give it 2 years and you'll see one man leaner, wealthier, sharper, and more fulfilled, while the other is stuck in deeper debt, lower energy, and a stagnant mindset. That's the compound effect in action. The results are invisible at first, then undeniable. Darren Hardy argues that most people abandon change too quickly because they don't feel the impact immediately. We're trained by instant gratification culture. We expect transformation to feel big. But the compound effect is slow and silent. It's the daily choice to show up even when nothing seems to be happening. It's brushing your teeth even when they don't look dirty. It's making the better food choice even when the scale doesn't move. It's saving the extra $10 even when it feels like nothing. The key isn't intensity, it's consistency. That's where the power builds. That's what creates leverage. And eventually that effort crosses an invisible threshold, where momentum takes over, and the results begin to snowball. But here's what most people miss. The compound effect is always working, whether you're intentional or not. It doesn't just work in your favor, it works on autopilot. Every skipped workout compounds, every impulse buy, every emotional reaction, every excuse. If you're not directing it consciously, it's still guiding your life, just toward a destination you didn't choose. Hardy puts it this way: you are making choices right now that will affect you for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years. It's not the major decisions that shape your future, it's the minor ones, repeated. Success is not a result of radical action, it's a result of routine, of small steps taken daily, regardless of how you feel. And that's good news, because it means you already have what you need. You don't need a windfall, you don't need a complete overhaul. You need awareness, discipline, and time. Hardy also introduces the concept of the magic penny. If you had a choice between receiving $3 million today or a penny that doubles every day for 31 days, most people would grab the instant cash. But the penny, by day 31, is worth over $10 million. Why? Because exponential growth kicks in late. For most of the month, the penny still looks insignificant, but once momentum hits, it accelerates beyond anything that looks logical. This is exactly how personal growth works. You feel like nothing's changing until everything does. And when it does, people will say, "You're so lucky," or "That happened so fast," not realizing you spent years doing the little things that made it inevitable. So here's your takeaway. If you want massive success, don't aim for massive action. Aim for tiny wins stacked daily. Track your decisions, guard your routines, and give the compound effect the time it needs to do what it always does: create big change from small steps. Lesson 2. Choices shape your destiny. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of life you want. Darren Hardy doesn't sugarcoat this. Your current reality is the direct result of your past choices. Not chance, not talent, not your circumstances, but your choices. This might sound harsh at first, especially if you're struggling, but Hardy's point isn't to blame, it's to empower. Because if small, unconscious choices got you here, then small, intentional ones can take you somewhere far better. We live in a world of distractions. Every day, we're bombarded by decisions: what to eat, how to spend, who to text, what to watch, what to believe. Most people coast through those choices on autopilot. They do what's easiest, what's familiar, what feels good in the moment, and then they wonder why their life doesn't reflect their goals. Here's the uncomfortable truth: every choice matters. Whether you choose to scroll or read, save or spend, react or respond, it all adds up, quietly, invisibly, until the compound effect makes it visible. The challenge? Most choices don't seem important when you're making them. Choosing fast food over a home-cooked meal once doesn't hurt. Skipping a workout one day doesn't ruin your body. Buying that extra thing on Amazon doesn't bankrupt you. But when those choices become habits, and those habits become lifestyle, they shape your destiny. Hardy suggests that most people live in what he calls a choice coma. They go through the day without examining why they do what they do. They follow routines that don't serve them. They numb with distractions. They react instead of respond. And then they wake up years later, wondering where the time, money, and health went. To break out of the coma, you must become hyper-aware of your choices. This doesn't mean obsessing. It means slowing down long enough to ask, is this decision moving me toward or away from my goals? Is this aligned with who I want to become? Am I choosing short-term comfort or long-term fulfillment? Most people don't need new goals, they need new standards for their daily decisions. Hardy's practical advice is this: start tracking. Write down your habits, log your spending, record your reactions, because what gets measured gets improved. You can't change what you're not aware of. And don't underestimate the power of micro-decisions. You might think, it's just one cookie, or it's just 5 minutes on Instagram. But the compound effect doesn't care about excuses. It compounds whatever you feed it, good or bad. The best part? You can choose again at any moment. You can decide to start the walk, close the tab, send the apology, skip the drink. It's never too late to change direction because the trajectory of your life shifts with each new choice. Remember, success isn't one giant leap. It's a million tiny steps, and each one starts with a choice. So today, ask yourself, what's one choice I've been making on autopilot that I'm ready to take back control of? Make the new choice once, then again tomorrow, and again the day after that. That's how you build a new life. One choice at a time. Lesson 3. Habits make or break your life. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They're the silent patterns that guide how you think, act, and respond. Darren Hardy makes it clear, success is not the result of massive actions taken occasionally, it's the result of simple disciplines practiced daily. And those disciplines become habits. Your habits either compound in your favor or quietly work against you. There's no neutral. Everything you repeatedly do is shaping your future. Think about this. 95% of everything you do, say, and think each day is habitual. From how you brush your teeth to how you respond to stress, most of your life is on autopilot. If you want to change your results, you must change your autopilot settings. That means creating new habits intentionally and removing the ones that no longer serve you. But here's the tricky part. Bad habits are easy to start and hard to break. Good habits are hard to start and easy to abandon. Why? Because bad habits often provide instant gratification. They feel good now and cost you later. Good habits require delayed gratification. They feel like work now and pay off down the road. That's why most people struggle. They're addicted to the immediate and disconnected from the cumulative. Hardy says the secret is to flip your mindset. Instead of focusing on how hard a good habit feels today, focus on how powerful it will feel in the future. Instead of thinking, this workout doesn't matter, remind yourself that this is a vote for strength, energy, and confidence. When you link habits to identity, when every action becomes an expression of who you want to be, you begin to crave consistency. Building a habit requires more than willpower. It requires triggers, systems, and tracking. Start small. Choose one habit to install and stack it onto an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I do 20 push-ups. Or after I make coffee, I read 10 pages. Use your current routines as anchors for new behaviors and track everything. What gets tracked gets reinforced. Even a simple check mark on a calendar gives your brain a sense of completion and progress. The goal isn't perfection, it's momentum. You're not trying to get it right every time. You're trying to build the muscle of showing up. Missing once is normal. Missing twice is a pattern. Another key: design your environment to support the habits you want. Make the good behaviors easy and the bad ones hard. If you want to eat better, prep your meals and get the junk out of the house. If you want to focus more, put your phone in another room. Your willpower is limited, but your systems can be limitless if you set them up right. Eventually, what felt hard becomes automatic. The first week is awkward. The second is better. By the third, it's just what you do. And that's the magic moment, when identity and action merge. You're no longer forcing a habit. You've become the person who lives that way. Your habits will never lie to you. They'll either prove your commitment or expose your excuses, but they will always show you your future. Lesson 4. Momentum is built, not found. Most people wait for momentum to show up. They wait to feel like it. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect day, or the right energy. But Darren Hardy says that's backwards. Momentum isn't something you find, it's something you build. And it's built through disciplined action, not motivation. If you want to get in shape, get out of debt, grow a business, or become a better version of yourself, you must create momentum by showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Momentum begins the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. The first push is always the hardest, like trying to roll a heavy boulder. It takes effort, focus, and consistency just to get things moving. But once it's rolling, even slowly, the resistance drops. And as it continues, the process becomes easier. Eventually, it takes very little effort to keep the momentum going, but it all started with that first difficult push. Hardy calls this the big mo. It's the silent force that works in your favor once you've earned it. But it's also fragile. One skipped workout, one missed payment, one broken promise to yourself may not seem like much, but it can be enough to slow you down. 2 or 3 of those in a row? You're back at a dead stop, having to push again from zero. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. Anyone can sprint for a week. Most people do that every New Year's Day. But consistency, the slow, repetitive, boring discipline, that's what builds momentum. And when you protect it, it protects you. When you're in momentum, everything feels smoother. You make better choices. You resist temptations more easily. You feel clear, capable, and powerful. But none of that happens if you keep restarting from scratch. Hardy gives a powerful analogy. Think of a rocket. It burns up nearly all its fuel just getting off the ground. The first few miles take everything, but once it's in orbit, it floats effortlessly. Momentum works the same way in your habits, your business, your health, and your mindset. The startup energy is immense, but once you're up and running, the compound effect kicks in, and it becomes harder to stop than to keep going. So how do you build momentum practically? First, decide what small win you will repeat daily. Keep it simple. It could be 10 minutes of reading, a morning walk, or one sales call. Whatever it is, make it non-negotiable. Second, track your streak. A visual record of consistency gives you a reason not to break it. Third, eliminate friction. Remove the obstacles that make excuses easy. Lay out your clothes, prep your meals, turn off your phone. Fourth, create accountability. Tell someone your goal, join a group, set a daily check-in. We're more likely to stay consistent when someone's watching. And finally, celebrate progress. Don't wait for the result. Momentum builds faster when you reward action, not outcomes. And remember, when you feel like quitting, that's when momentum is closest. Most people give up just before the breakthrough, not because they can't do it, but because they haven't done it long enough to feel the shift. Momentum is not reserved for the talented, the wealthy, or the disciplined. It belongs to the consistent, and it can work for you or against you depending on your habits. The longer you stay in motion, the easier it gets. But if you stop too often, you'll always be in the exhausting phase of starting over. So show up today. Push a little. Build your streak. Protect the momentum. Because once it's yours, it will carry you further than willpower ever could. Lesson 5. Tracking your way to success. What gets measured gets improved. It's one of the simplest truths in success, and yet one that most people overlook. In The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy emphasizes that if you're not tracking it, you're not improving it. Period. You might think you're being consistent. You might feel like you're making progress, but feelings aren't facts. Results don't lie, and the only way to know where you stand is to track the actions that create your outcomes. Hardy explains that tracking isn't just a productivity hack, it's a tool for self-awareness. Most people underestimate how often they make small compromises. They forget about the snacks they eat between meals, the impulsive purchases, the skipped habits, the wasted time. But when you write it down, when you see the truth in front of you, you can't hide from your own behavior. That's when change begins. Let's say you want to improve your finances. Start by tracking every dollar for 30 days. Every coffee, every subscription, every little transfer between accounts. The insights will surprise you. Or maybe you want to get in better shape. Log everything you eat for 2 weeks. You'll notice patterns you weren't aware of. Mindless snacking, unnecessary portions, missed hydration. Want to reclaim your time? Track your day in 30-minute blocks. See how many hours go to scrolling, reacting, or multitasking ineffectively. The point of tracking isn't to judge, it's to become conscious. Hardy calls this bringing the unconscious to light. When you measure your behavior, you give yourself the power to change it. And even more importantly, you begin to see how the compound effect is already working in your life, positively or negatively. One of the most powerful effects of tracking is that it builds integrity. Every time you write down what you did, you become a little more honest with yourself. It's harder to lie about why things aren't working when you can literally see the evidence. You stop blaming luck, timing, or other people. You take ownership. And ownership is where all personal power begins. Another benefit? Tracking reinforces identity. Every time you check the box, cross off the task, or log the habit, you reinforce the belief. I'm the kind of person who shows up. That reinforcement becomes internalized. You no longer just do the habit, you become the person who lives that way. An identity is more powerful than willpower. Hardy recommends starting small. Choose one key behavior in the area you want to improve: fitness, money, work, or mindset. Track that behavior daily for at least a week. Don't try to track everything at once. Overwhelm leads to abandonment. Keep it simple. Use a notebook, a habit tracker app, or a spreadsheet, whatever keeps you consistent. Let's say you want to become more focused. Track how many minutes you spend doing deep work each day. If your goal is to build wealth, track your income, expenses, and saving rate. If you want to strengthen your relationship, track how many intentional, uninterrupted minutes you spend connecting with your partner daily. After a week or two, you'll start to notice patterns. You'll see your good days, your slip-ups, your gaps, and that awareness becomes leverage. You can begin to make strategic adjustments, not random guesses. Over time, you can layer new habits on top and start tracking more behaviors, but it all starts with one. Hardy also points out that tracking helps you stay motivated. Success is often slow and subtle, especially at first, but when you have a visual record of your progress, you stay connected to the process. You can look back and say, I've done this 17 days in a row. That consistency builds confidence. It gives you proof that you're moving forward, even when results aren't visible yet. And here's the best part. Tracking builds momentum. The simple act of checking a box creates a micro win, a burst of satisfaction. That emotional reward makes the habit easier to repeat. You begin to crave the win. You don't want to break the streak. And before long, the behavior becomes automatic. It's not glamorous, it's not complicated, but it works. Tracking is the bridge between intention and execution. If you want to master your habits, your money, your time, your health, Start by mastering your awareness. Track what you do, review it weekly, adjust intentionally. You can't manage what you don't measure, and you can't improve what you don't acknowledge. Lesson 6. The power of routines and rituals. Success isn't built on random bursts of energy, it's built on structure. Darren Hardy makes it clear, if you want to control your outcomes, you need to control your days. And the most powerful way to do that is through routines and rituals. They're not just habits, they're systems that eliminate decision fatigue, preserve willpower, and automate success. Your brain is wired for efficiency. It wants to conserve energy. That's why it loves routines. When you repeat the same behaviors in the same order, your brain no longer has to think, it just executes. This frees up energy for deeper work and harder decisions. Without a routine, every day is a negotiation. Do I work out today? Should I journal? Should I check email now or later? These constant decisions drain your energy and open the door to distraction. Hardy emphasizes the power of starting and ending your day with intentional structure. Your morning ritual sets the tone. It doesn't need to be long or elaborate, but it must be consistent. Whether it's 30 minutes or 2 hours, your morning should contain at least one anchor habit, something that centers you, primes your mindset, and reminds you of who you want to be. That could be reading, stretching, meditating, journaling, or reviewing your goals. The key is to begin the day by design, not by default. Equally important is your evening ritual. This is where you shut down the day, clear your mind, and prepare your body and brain for rest. Hardy suggests using this time to reflect on the day's wins, track your key behaviors, and set up the next day's priorities. This bookending effect gives your day structure, like rails on a train. Without them, you're constantly derailed by interruptions, emotion, and urgency. But routines aren't just for mornings and evenings. They can and should exist in your workday, your workouts, your eating habits, and even your thought patterns. Hardy calls these success rituals, automated behaviors that compound over time and free your brain from friction. For example, you might always plan your week on Sunday night, batch emails at specific times, do your hardest task first thing in the morning, or follow the same warm-up before workouts. These rituals reduce variability and protect your momentum. The beauty of routines is that they create reliability. You don't need to feel motivated, you don't need to psych yourself up. You just follow the system you already designed. Hardy reminds us, amateurs hope. Professionals work the system. But what about creativity? What about freedom? Don't routines make life rigid? It's a common fear, but the truth is the opposite. Structure creates freedom. When you automate the basics, you gain more time, energy, and clarity for the things that really matter. Your mind is no longer cluttered with micro-decisions. You're not constantly reacting. You have space to think big, act boldly, and live intentionally. So how do you start? First, audit your current routines. What's the first thing you do after waking up? What's the last thing you do before bed? Where are the biggest leaks in your day? Time spent drifting, reacting, or switching tasks? Next, choose just one area to improve. Don't try to overhaul everything. Start with a morning ritual that's short and repeatable, or block 1 hour of deep work each morning. Keep it simple, trackable, and consistent. Then stack habits into a routine. If you already drink coffee in the morning, pair it with 10 minutes of journaling. If you brush your teeth at night, add a short reflection on the day. These pairings reduce resistance because they use existing anchors to build new rituals. Most importantly, protect your routines. Life will always get noisy. People will always make requests. But your routines are your foundation. When you keep them sacred, everything else becomes easier to manage. Hardy's core message is this: You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Your routines are your systems, they are your life, on autopilot. If you want to create a better life, start by designing better days. Lesson 7. Influence: who and what you surround yourself with. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That quote is popular for a reason. It reflects one of the most powerful truths about human behavior. Darren Hardy dedicates an entire section of the compound effect to this idea because your environment, especially the people in it, has a massive impact on the choices you make, the habits you form, and ultimately, the life you build. Influence works quietly. You don't usually notice it happening. You start talking like the people around you. You pick up their beliefs, mirror their energy, and absorb their standards. If your friends always complain about money, blame others, or avoid responsibility, it becomes easier to do the same. If they eat junk food, skip workouts, and scroll all day, guess what? You probably will too. On the other hand, if you spend time around people who read, invest, grow, train, and pursue goals, you'll start doing that too. Not because they pressure you, but because their way of life becomes normal. Their discipline rubs off, their ambition becomes contagious, their thinking upgrades yours. Hardy urges you to take inventory. Who's influencing you the most right now? Who do you text, talk to, watch, follow, or share space with daily? Are they pulling you forward or holding you back? Are they challenging you to be better or making it easy to settle? This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means becoming intentional. If you want to lose weight, spend more time around people who treat their health as a priority. If you want to build wealth, study how wealthy people think and act. If you want stronger relationships, hang around people who model what that looks like. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Change it, and your decisions become easier. There are 3 types of people Hardy says to pay attention to: associates, mentors, and anchors. Associates are people you casually spend time with. Be aware of how much access they have to your mental space. Mentors are the people who stretch you, people whose lives, thinking, or results you want to model. They may be in your life directly, or they might be authors, speakers, or leaders you follow. Then there are anchors, the people who consistently pull you down, drain your energy, or reinforce the old version of you. Anchors aren't necessarily bad people, but they may be wrong for your goals. Hardy suggests you don't have to confront or explain, just start limiting the time and energy you give them. Boundaries aren't rude, they're responsible. And this doesn't just apply to people, it includes media. What you consume every day, news, podcasts, social posts, entertainment, shapes your mental environment. Is it inspiring or numbing? Does it educate or distract? Are you feeding your potential or feeding your excuses? Over time, this influence compounds. Garbage in, garbage out. Excellence in, excellence out. Hardy also recommends creating intentional influence through a personal growth circle. Surround yourself, physically or virtually, with ambitious, principled, growth-oriented people. That could be a mastermind, a workout group, an online community, or a weekly call with someone who holds you accountable. When you're surrounded by people who expect more from themselves, you'll naturally raise your game to match. This isn't about ego, it's about elevation. You can't outgrow your environment forever. Eventually it pulls you back or propels you forward. The people closest to you will either make your new habits easier or nearly impossible. So here's the challenge. Audit your circle. Who lifts you? Who drains you? Who challenges you? Who keeps you small? Then adjust accordingly. Spend more time with the people who represent your future, not your past. Protect your attention, curate your inputs. And above all, become the kind of influence you wish you had more of. Your energy, your words, your standards, they affect others too. Be the person others are proud to rise with. Influence is real, it's powerful, and it's always working. Make sure it's working for you, not against you. Lesson 8. Acceleration through consistency. The secret to extraordinary results isn't intensity, it's consistency. Darren Hardy returns to this idea again and again because it's the heartbeat of the compound effect. Small actions repeated consistently over time create an acceleration effect. At first, the changes are barely noticeable, then suddenly everything starts moving faster than seems possible. That's the reward for staying the course. Most people underestimate how long progress takes, and they overestimate what they can accomplish in a short burst. They work hard for a week, see no results, and quit. They stick to a diet for 10 days, the scale barely moves, and they slide back into old habits. They publish 3 posts online, no one notices, and they stop. The problem isn't the effort, it's the lack of consistency. Hardy uses a powerful metaphor. Think of pumping water from a well using an old-fashioned hand pump. At first, you pump and pump with no visible result. You start to wonder if it's broken. But if you keep going without stopping, eventually the water starts to flow. And once it does, you don't have to pump nearly as hard to keep it going. That's momentum. But if you stop too soon, the water slides back down. And the next time you start, you're back to zero. This is what happens when people bounce between ideas, diets, routines, or business models. They never stay with one long enough to build that acceleration. They keep resetting the pump. And that's why nothing sticks. The compound effect rewards people who are willing to stay consistent through the slow, invisible, boring phase. That's the phase where most people quit. But if you can endure it, if you keep showing up even when no one claps, no one notices, and nothing seems to change, everything changes later, and faster than you expect. Why does this matter? Because success doesn't show up linearly, it shows up exponentially. Day 1 and day 100 might look almost the same, but day 101 could change your life. The problem is you don't know when day 101 will arrive. You just have to believe that it's coming and keep putting in the work. This is where trust comes in. Not trust in luck or outside forces, trust in your system. Hardy encourages people to build a system they can follow daily, not a 30-day challenge, not a temporary sprint, but a way of living, something you can repeat no matter how you feel, because consistency only works when it survives your mood. It also helps to focus on process goals instead of outcome goals. Instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, focus on walking 5,000 steps a day and tracking your meals. Instead of saying, I want to make $100,000, focus on making 5 offers a day or writing every morning. When your identity is tied to the process, you stay consistent even when results lag. Hardy makes another important point. Consistency compounds both ways. If you consistently skip workouts, spend impulsively, or avoid difficult conversations, those behaviors accelerate too. That's why self-awareness is crucial. You're always compounding something. The only question is what. If you want to make consistency easier, Hardy suggests a few strategies. First, reduce friction. Set up your environment so the good behavior is easier to do. If you want to journal, leave your notebook on your pillow. If you want to eat better, prep your food in advance. Second, schedule your habits. Put them on the calendar. What gets scheduled gets done. Third, track your streak. Even a simple check mark creates momentum. Fourth, celebrate progress. Not with huge rewards, just enough recognition to make the effort feel valuable. And when you slip, and you will, don't catastrophize. Get back to the behavior immediately. Missing once is human. Missing twice is a choice. The bottom line is this. Consistency creates acceleration. It separates the dabblers from the doers. It transforms average habits into extraordinary results. It's not glamorous, it's not viral, but it works. Lesson 9. Owning your results. No excuses, just ownership. At the core of the compound effect is a simple but uncomfortable truth. You are responsible for everything in your life, every result, every habit, every outcome. Darren Hardy doesn't soften this message. He says, if you want to create lasting success, you must give up blame, excuses, and victim thinking entirely. That means no more blaming your boss, your partner, your parents, the economy, or your past. If it's in your life, it's yours to own. This isn't about guilt, it's about power. The moment you take full responsibility, you reclaim control. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop hoping circumstances will improve. And you start asking the most important question a person can ask. What can I do about this? Hardy breaks this down with brutal clarity. He says excuses are seductive. They make you feel better in the short term. They explain away discomfort, but they cost you long-term growth. Every time you say, I don't have time, or that's just how I am, or it's not my fault, you give away power. You become a spectator in your own life. But when you own your results, you become the author of your story. You start to see challenges as data, not drama. You shift from reaction to response. You stop focusing on what others are doing wrong and focus instead on what you can do better. This mindset shift is crucial, especially in the beginning stages of change. When results are slow, it's easy to blame the process. But Hardy says, don't blame the system. Inspect your consistency. Don't question the strategy, question your execution. When something isn't working, assume you're 100% responsible for changing it. That kind of radical ownership is rare, but it's what separates winners from wishers. To practice ownership, Hardy recommends auditing your language. Start noticing how often you blame, complain, or defer. Even casual phrases like, I can't, or it's not fair, reveal hidden patterns of powerlessness. Replace them with language that puts you in charge. Say, I choose not to, instead of I can't. Say, I'll find a way, instead of I don't know how. These subtle shifts change how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. Another tool is the ownership filter. Every time something goes wrong, missed workout, failed goal, lost opportunity, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What was my role in this? 2. What can I learn from it? 3. What will I do differently next time? This isn't about shame, it's about leverage. The more honest you are, the faster you grow. Hardy also challenges people to take ownership of their inputs. What are you feeding your mind? What kind of media are you consuming? Who are you spending time with? What are you exposing yourself to each day? These inputs shape your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately, your actions. You can't expect positive outcomes with negative inputs. Even your emotions are your responsibility. Yes, things happen, people are difficult, life is unpredictable, but how you respond is always your choice. You can't always control the trigger, but you can control the pattern that follows. That's emotional maturity, and it's a hallmark of ownership. When you fully own your results, something powerful happens. You start acting like a leader, not necessarily of a team or company, but of yourself. You show up differently. You follow through. You keep promises to yourself. You stop arguing for your limitations. You become trustworthy to others, but more importantly, to yourself. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you stop pointing fingers and start pointing your focus inward. Every area of your life will improve when you take full ownership of it. Your health, your finances, your relationships, not because it's your fault, but because it's your responsibility. Hardy's challenge is simple. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more giving away your power. Own it all. Not later. Not when it's convenient. Now, conclusion and key takeaways. Building a life that compounds. If there's one truth that echoes throughout the compound effect, it's this. Success is not about massive action. It's not about being lucky, talented, or born with special circumstances. It's about the small things, done consistently with intention over time. That's what separates people who achieve lasting change from those who never move beyond good intentions. The principles you've heard in this audiobook aren't revolutionary, and that's exactly why they're so powerful. Because they're accessible. You don't need more resources, you need more consistency. You don't need a better plan, you need better habits. You don't need a breakthrough, you need follow-through. Darren Hardy doesn't promise quick fixes. He invites you to build something more meaningful, a life rooted in discipline, purpose, and compounding progress. It's slower than hype-driven solutions, but it's permanent. And it works in any area of your life: finances, health, mindset, relationships, business. Remember, everything you do is either compounding for you or against you. There is no neutral. Each decision, each behavior, each thought is contributing to your trajectory. That might feel like pressure, but it should feel like empowerment, because it means you can steer your life in any direction you choose. You just need to be deliberate. Let's recap the core ideas. Small, smart choices, when repeated over time, produce massive results. Your choices determine your direction. Track them, own them. Your habits shape your identity. Create ones that match your vision. Momentum builds with consistent action. Protect it at all costs. Tracking is your accountability partner. What you measure, you improve. Routines and rituals free up energy and keep you grounded. Your environment and the people in it influence your decisions more than you think. Choose them wisely. Consistency is more important than intensity. Stay in the game. Ownership is the ultimate success strategy. No blame, no excuses, just responsibility. You don't need to overhaul your life today. Just pick one area to improve. Start small. Choose one habit to track, one routine to strengthen, one excuse to eliminate. Do that one thing every day and watch the ripple effect unfold. The compound effect is always at work. Use it. Don't fight it. And most importantly, trust it. Because if you stay consistent long enough, results will come. They may arrive quietly, slowly, but then all at once. And when they do, you'll know it wasn't luck. It was the result of 1,000 small wins no one else saw, but you committed to anyway. That's how real success is built. Not overnight, but over time. Step by step, choice by choice, habit by habit. Now go take the first small step and let the compound effect work in your favor starting today.